It being 6:40, I'll call to order the meeting of the Carver Redevelopment Authority for November 1st, 2022. First item on the agenda is the Route 44 project update. Sabri and I had a discussion with Maggie Schmidt with the DHCD. Forgot when that was.
Early November, early October.
About 4 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
It was in between meetings. And we were going over the amendments or the amendment, the draft amendment, and everything kind of seemed to be in order. We just have to craft it to be as a final. I think all of you know that we cleared the Attorney General's office for the, excuse me, I'm really tired, for the bylaws, and we're just waiting out the 90-day appeal period following that, which I would believe is December 13th, 14th, somewhere in there. Other than that, it's been fairly quiet. Did you have anything else to say about the update on DHCD? I didn't bring my notes with me.
No, it's just that, Maggie had some good suggestions and things that she felt were unclear or could be made clearer.
Mm-hmm.
And John Smolak, who's the attorney for Hillwood, was in agreement, and there were a couple of times where they talked at a level that was up here. But they seemed to understand what each other meant, so I assumed that was fine.
Yeah, I've not spoken with John since then.
No.
I started to email him today with some questions, and they weren't really formulated properly, so I said I'll wait till the meeting tonight. I let him know we were having the meeting tonight, whether they needed to come, but I think everyone's just kind of still laying low. There was a couple of things that we needed to get from Maggie. The only thing I was thinking that I didn't have was the taking, or not the taking plan, but the plan for the Business Park Road.
Oh, okay, but the town would have that,
Yeah.
because it's really Montello Street, it's a new entrance to Montello
It's
Street.
a new one, it's a new cut through, but did we formally take that as a road?
The
It wasn't
town,
done yet,
the town did,
they did, so
and
that,
the select board did, the select board made it a public way.
okay. So she wanted a plan of that, so I know I need to kind of dig that up.
Yeah, John Wood would have it, John Woods
Yeah.
would have it.
On my list of things to do.
And we have it somewhere, who was the engineer on that?
Elena Bowl engineering, but we could probably get it from Bob Calhoun or
Yeah, it wasn't Paul, there was another engineering firm that does roads.
B something?
I don't remember. Anyway, we had the plans, we saw the plans,
Right,
but they were approved by the select board.
right, and it was just something that they needed.
And
for-
actually, town meeting also
I thought so.
approved the
The
accepting.
The acceptance of the townway, so. So they just needed some clarification on that. She needed clarification on the little parcel, the eminent domain parcel, which I may have sent you the information to. The assessors gave it a number in case we needed it.
Right.
They gave it, they reviewed the plans that we'd sent them and the deeds that we'd sent them, and they gave it a small number. Other than that, we just need to get back with John and send something in under a formal,
Yes.
this isn't a draft. She was giving notes on kind of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And the objective is to make sure that these bylaws that we had done kept it within the framework of minor modifications. It didn't change the scope of the project, didn't change the scope of the intent. And
We should probably ask John to do that sooner rather than later. So
yeah, I thought he'd contact me, but
we would probably want the actual letter, not the draft.
right.
To go out so that the DHCD's decision is somewhere near the end of the appeal period.
Okay. So I will contact John tomorrow and just set something up with him. The eminent domain taking, I sent all of you a copy. I think Route 44's attorney did this, and Kathleen O'Donnell reviewed it and gave it an okay. It's to convey that one little eminent domain piece from us to Route 44, so they can close the gap on that. He was gonna send $4,000. Did you get that check?
Haven't got a check yet.
Yep.
No. And I was, yeah, I checked the,
It was gonna be a separate $4,000 check.
yesterday, I checked the mailbox, nothing there either.
Oh, it was gonna come from his attorney. So he was sending,
So it depends who they send it to. I mean, they could send it to the town, and then it'll
I
be
thought they'd
lost.
learn not to do that. You had sent the email saying that their funds were very low, Route 44's funds were very low. Did you send an email?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, you know, we got some funds from them.
George McLaughlin was sending a $4,000 check to cover
Oh, wait, I might,
the $3,750 consideration price, plus the recording fee, plus the stamps fee.
my timing of these issues threw me off a little bit.
Because that was money meant not necessarily to replenish the account, it was meant just for this.
Well, probably because it was so long ago, back in July, we had a $4,000 check, and that was when I said that.
That was when we were just low on funds, and we had some,
That's when we were just low on funds.
right, and we had some
So-
bills coming in on eminent
And we-
domain.
And we did. Other than that, there has been nothing else from that.
Okay, so I need to check on the
So-
$4,000
No,
check.
but that's from George McLaughlin, right?
Right, that's gonna come from Route 44 to us.
Yeah, so I think they're pretty good at addressing it appropriately. It's Hillwood that we end up with the problems with, chasing these things down.
I can't access my carverma.org email on my phone. I have to have some boundaries. And there was an email from him maybe 2 weeks ago, because we were going back and forth with this lawyer. They needed to see a vote. I got the vote from our
Okay.
minutes
But in any case, we haven't, last check, we got $4,000 in July.
from Route 44.
Yes.
So we haven't gotten anything from them since.
That went into the URP account, yeah.
Okay. Alrighty then, so I need to track that down with George tomorrow, because I know Joanna will let us sign this deed until we have the check. But I sent you all a copy of the deed. So do we wanna vote on signing this tonight, or do we wanna just say pending receipt of funds? We haven't got the money for this yet, so the consideration for the deed is what they pegged the eminent domain fee to be, $3,750.
Well, I mean, just for the sake of expedience, we could sign
We
it.
can sign it, you know.
However, we don't let it go
Oh, we don't record it.
until
Right.
the check
Okay.
comes in.
Right.
Okay.
Just so we don't have to get everybody back together again.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we agree to sign the deed for the eminent domain taking contingent and getting into the registry contingent upon receipt of the check from Route 44.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I can sign it. I can attach the vote from the minutes. I have that separated, and
Who needs to sign, all of us or
Just-
just the chair?
actually, either me, Savory, or you. I think it's under my name right now, the chair, but we had a vote about
One signature?
one signature. We had a vote a few years ago, 2 years ago or so, to expedite matters that if we all agree and the vote's on record, only one of us needs to
Okay.
sign
Mhm.
deeds and decisions. I've asked Kara Dayhill, the town clerk, to prepare a formal certificate of vote with our minutes, which she will do as soon as she's done with the election in the aftermath. So when I get that, I'll record that with this. And once it's on record at the registry, we don't ever have to change it. We can make reference to it. And the next board that comes in, if they want everybody to sign, they'll have to change it.
Yep.
But that's up to them. Is there anything else on Route 44? Christine, I see you're here. Do you have any questions? There's just nothing going.
No, I just figured there was nothing going on, but I'll just try to stay up to date.
Yeah, it's very quiet. We haven't heard from Hillwood at all.
Yeah, really nothing will happen until that plan's approved, and then things will start to move.
Yeah, and I think, I can't say for certain, but there's probably some concerns about the market and concerns about,
Yeah.
there's
A lot of
just
uncertainties right now.
just a lot of moving parts that when one finally stops, another one starts moving. So, but thank you for coming.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
It's a public meeting. Okay, so we can take care of that. I have my list of people to call. The next thing, the next thing on the list is 94th Street. I think I announced at the last meeting that it was sold, the deed is on record. I actually saw some trees have been taken down now.
Yeah, same here. They're clearing.
Joanna told me that she did return the taxes checks to the assessors, the tax collector, because out of the $175,000 that we got, we first returned $39,000 and some change on the taxes that were owed. They took it for taxes, and then there were some pro forma taxes for the rest of the year, I think, or something, that covered a gap. And she has returned that, and I'm not gonna speak for her, but she seems to feel that there's a discrepancy between the balance of the funds and the settlement sheet, which, that's her bailiwick and not mine. So,
But we got another big check, because I deposited a check for
100,
a little over $126,000.
right, she seems to feel it should be 135 and some more change.
Okay,
I honestly, I don't understand it. She needs to get with Kathleen O'Donnell. And then she needs to make sure, because out of that, we get to take 10% off the top of the 175, that's ours. Then we also get all our expenses back, dating back more than a decade.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Does she feel the other two checks are correct?
Yes, those were definitely
Those are
correct.
correct.
Those were definitely correct. So I don't,
Okay, well, we're just gonna have to look into that a little closer, I guess.
Yeah.
What was the second check for, or the amount, the pro forma?
it was,
I didn't see any of those,
no, she said there was the 39,000 plus another check. She took 2 checks up to the tax collector's office.
Okay, I didn't see those.
No,
Oh, okay.
they came with the package.
The other one came to me,
To
to the RDA.
the RDA, it came to Jill, and I had
Jill,
her,
yeah,
I had
Jill.
her sign it.
Shouldn't copies of those be made for the record for us?
They should be, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think she,
This way everything can be looked at and,
no, Joanna, she probably got a receipt,
forensically.
Right.
Oh,
a receipt.
Any-
But,
Anything we can do to prolong this on the agenda.
exactly.
It's never leaving, I already said that, Savory, it's never leaving the agenda.
we'll take it off the agenda when we go to the ribbon cutting.
Who,
Excuse me.
there's gonna be just a simple spreadsheet, with like 3 lines on it.
It was-
Who would have done that?
It was on the settlement sheet, and it was some blip on the settlement sheet, which I looked at, Kathleen O'Donnell sent it to me, said it was fine, I signed it and sent it back.
Who created the, sheet? Kathleen did.
Our attorney,
So,
who did the closing.
so Joanna's,
She's,
feels that it was done incorrectly.
something with the
Okay.
money is done incorrectly.
Right, then she can talk to Kathleen about it.
She's gonna talk to Kathleen about it, and so at our next meeting,
Yeah, okay.
it will be, at least we're talking money now and not, what are we gonna do with this thing? But that's where that stands, so it's in the hands of Dan, he's taking down some trees, he's starting to build his electrical, bays there, and I wish him well. But at least it's in the black now, so we just don't know how much money we're gonna get. And the rest of it will be turned over to the general fund.
Yeah,
Possibly with the suggestion it can go to conservation.
we'll figure that all out, and then I'll write a check to the town.
And were you able to go through the bills and figure out which were
I got.
in the last 2
There's-
years?
There's not much there
Okay,
for Forest Street.
okay.
No, and I think only one.
I think-
That I can think of, but I didn't go through, I'll go through the whole pile.
She has them from before,
Oh,
and I
she
think
must have a big pile, yeah.
from the last thing that, I mean, when I was on the board, I think we paid $800 or $900 for the, boundary markers, the granite boundary markers, didn't we do? So, I mean, and that's a reason, when we get all that back, so,
Yeah,
all right. So, Joanna, if you're watching, it's on you. So that, we'll take that up next meeting. Next, Wade Street. This will be the one that we'll continue for a bit. Savory and Joanna had a meeting with the select board. Savory, if you wanna give us a highlight of that, I did watch it.
Basically, we were trying to make, ask the select board to make a decision whether they wanted to fulfill their obligation of taking that property that was made 10 years ago, but the deed was never changed, or relinquish or reverse their decision from 10 years ago, putting the property back in the ownership of the RDA. I think at the end of all the discussion, it was pretty clear that whichever the outcome was, that the intention was to give it to conservation. And the select board just wanted to be assured that that was going to be the path that the RDA would take with the property, so that, we wouldn't just turn around and sell it to somebody else.
Mhm.
That, that they wanted to have us take a vote to say we were going to donate the land to conservation. And basically, they're withholding any decision until we've met with conservation.
So we've met with conservation, and then conservation can make a decision.
Well,
I mean, I don't know how quickly they make a decision on these kind of things. I mean, we have another issue in that we have to have it surveyed. And I
Correct.
assume that would be an RDA responsibility.
right. Now, we had talked earlier a little bit about the next conservation meeting after tomorrow night being the 16th of November. Joanna had sent an email out earlier this week, and copied evidently only me on it.
Oh.
She wrote an email to Sue Moquin, who was the
Okay,
finance director
Yeah.
in Carver. And Joanna's email to her said in fact, the RDA is the owner of 0 Wade Street, which is 6.32 acres of land known as recreation with Vaughan Estates. The RDA is planning on giving the land to the Conservation Commission with a conservation restriction / open space. The land was titled within the Vaughan Estates and as stated on the original plan as recreation area. The RDA is planning to have the area surveyed with concrete boundaries and also expended miscellaneous money. The RDA is under the impression and needs you to confirm that the Conservation Trust Fund has money and can be used to reimburse the RDA of these expenditures. So, we've done a little bit of investigating on the Conservation Commission, of which I am chair, unrelated to Wade Street, looking for funding to maintain some of the other properties that Conservation owns in Carver.
Mhm.
And through discovery, we have found out that that a portion of income that is derived from permit fees that Conservation gets on new projects, and which was, we believe, supposed to go into a special account just to be used for conservation, has not done that, has not gone there. And that there is no money in a conservation trust fund or any other conservation fund. So, I know that you had talked about maybe having a vote on this tonight. I assume we can vote to donate the land, which is what the select board is looking for in order for them to relinquish or reverse their vote. However, the other part of this is the reimbursement for the survey and the other expenses, which, as of my knowledge right now, there's no money to do that. So I don't know what you want to do as far as voting on this tonight.
Excuse me.
Well, I think we've never formally voted to take it to conservation. So I
Right.
think we can vote to, I think we can vote to, I'll email and get on the agenda, and we can take that discussion wherever it needs to go.
Okay, so I think a vote, if you're gonna vote tonight, that you would make an offer to donate.
It's just gonna be an offer to donate,
Right.
because we can't give it to somebody who doesn't wanna take it, or
Right.
can't take it, so. What I don't know is how long it will take the Conservation Commission to make a decision, but we don't go back in front of the select board with any information until we know the answer.
Right. I think that you would probably make your presentation on the 16th of November. And I think a lot is contingent upon, I think the Conservation's Commission's decision will be very contingent upon the monies available. If in fact the RDA is insisting on being reimbursed.
Did you have your hand up for something?
I was gonna comment about something that,
Okay.
So,
Do you have a question?
you can go ahead, Roger.
So, we had people that were infringing on the space currently, right?
We have people that it is believed that they're encroaching on the space.
Okay, so for us to enforce any of that infringement, we first have to have the survey, right? And do we know when they built that? Do we have any timeline to know how long it's been there? As far as findage, so like if we survey the property and realize that they've been on this property, like they've been infringing on that
Oh, I
property,
see.
and then we can fine them for however amount of time they've been there, that might, one hand might help pay for the other.
I don't think we'd want to go down that road.
No.
It's a broader issue than that. There should be funding for maintenance of all conservation properties in Carver. And I would like to find a fix to that and find out the answers as to why what we expected to find in that fund isn't there. So.
That's a totally different investigation.
It is, but it is, but it isn't.
Right.
You know, if this is gonna be conservation property, which I assume it will be, that would be under the umbrella of all the conservation properties, and whatever monies that are available to maintain this, would be spread out among all the different properties that Carver Conservation owns. Now, on the other side of that, there is a potential that the Conservation Commission does have an acquisition fund, which is pretty robust. And that is funded by land that's taken out of 61A, and the difference in back taxes that the people have to pay goes into that acquisition fund. Now, when we have acquired properties using that fund, items such as a survey are included as part of the acquisition. So I think that there's a question there as to whether the surveys and anything dealing with the acquisition, even though it's a donation, the acquisition of that property could be not coming out of the trust fund, but out of the acquisition fund,
That makes sense. So first we'd have to get the vote through to donate it,
to offer to donate.
to offer to donate. Once
Right.
accepted, then that
Right.
survey could occur, hopefully from that finance or from that.
Well, I think that
account.
what would probably happen is that we would, the Conservation Commission would have to make a determination as to whether we feel comfortable, and I personally do, in saying that items associated with the donation of this property, such as surveys, are part of the acquisition. Because acquisition doesn't mean money, it just means we're acquiring the property.
Right.
Whether we buy it or get it through a donation, it's still the same thing.
Right.
And it's an acquisition fund. So I think that there's probably a way to use that money to at least pay for the survey.
Mhm.
So that's the discussion that's probably gonna have to happen at Conservation on the 16th. So there may not be an answer on the 16th, but at least there are all the questions that need to be raised so that we can get an answer on, from the Conservation, give an answer on December 7th, which is the following meeting.
And then the subsequent question would be, once you've appropriated, you've acquired it, and you're going to do land survey, any portion of them that have been over that property line, you could enforce, or your agency, Conservation Committee, would go after, any fines. It would not be a Carver RDA situation anymore.
That's correct.
Okay.
The property would be it would be town ownership, but under Conservation's auspices. I don't know if we have in our bylaws any kind of fine system set up for something like that. I'm assuming that it would be just a notification of them and a timeline for them to remove whatever encroaches on the property.
Okay, because one of the.
And then we can assign a fine. If we give them 90 days to remove this, anything over 90 days becomes a certain amount of money per day.
Okay, because I was curious why, since we've been talking about them and this issue has risen, I thought we were supposed to invite them to defend their position, but we don't necessarily have to because we're not going after anything. So that would be a totally different agency to do that, to invite them to discuss why they've gone over the line or whatever.
Without a land survey,
Right,
we really have no proof that they've gone over the line.
correct.
Now, this parcel does appear on an accepted subdivision plan. We don't have the GIS system in Carver that would actually superimpose over an aerial view that's pretty reliable. So I'm thinking that it's mostly because of the possible encroachment that we really need the survey done. Does the Conservation Commission, in your experience, require new surveys of offered land?
Only if there's a question or some kind of a violation or something's not clear.
Right.
When we purchased 44 Lakeview Street, that had just been redelineated by the
Right.
property
Right,
owner,
right,
so
right.
we accepted that as being what it was.
Mhm.
And the whole property was, it was staked when
Mhm.
we got it.
So, just to lay it down, outside of it being turned over to you, we will not have any concern or headache over having to enforce anything. Once it's given to the Conservation Committee, we can wash our hands of it, we don't have to.
I think that'll be a discussion with the conservation, whether they
Well,
want to
no, I
become an
think,
enforcement agent.
conservation has certain rules that pertain to the lands that are under conservation
Mhm.
control. And, it has to be for passive recreation use, and
Mhm.
obviously a barn or a garage or whatever it is back there isn't. So, and the conservation, it is in our bylaws that if there is a violation, that we give warning, and then after a certain amount we give them a certain amount of time to fix the violation. And then after that, I believe is a $50 per day fine that we can impose. So, that's something that, I would, my first hope would be to do it amicably.
Right. And it doesn't really start until we have a survey and we know exactly where our boundary lines are.
Right. And the property is transferred to
Right,
the
right. That's
conservation.
Right.
one less item, good.
Go ahead.
But a couple of things, I think, two is, we're talking about funds for maintenance and for properties and so forth. We got budget season coming up.
Right.
So now's the perfect time to
Yep.
do that. And
Yep.
whether it's for the Conservation Commission to use some existing funds, or whether it's for the town to provide the funds.
Yep, and
You know?
we're aware of that. We were under the assumption, based on history, that that certain fees that were paid for permitting that were given to conservation when we
Yeah.
granted permit were put into this trust fund.
Sure, yeah.
And when we were looking for maintenance dollars to pay for some tree cutting on Lakeview Street, and we asked the finance director, how much was in that fund, we were told there was nothing there, and we haven't spent it. So
Which finance director are we talking about?
it was Sue.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. This happened recently. This
Okay,
was in
so
the last 2
recently,
months.
okay.
So she basically looked and said there's nothing there. We don't know why, because we haven't used it. So somewhere, maybe, and we don't know, this is all conjecture. Maybe at some point it was filtered into the general fund for one reason or another. So anyway,
Okay.
it is in our bylaws that this money goes, the money that we collect as permitting fees goes into a fund to be used for conservation. But it's probably not enough for a maintenance fee, especially as we acquire more
But
properties.
again, the budget process, but have you asked her to go back into the system and look to see?
Mr. Germain has, as vice chair of Concom.
Okay.
So I don't have an answer yet. That was brought up at our last meeting.
Because that's doable.
Yes, it is. This is really brand new.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
new discovery for us,
Uh-huh.
and,
And we're gonna get more of those.
well,
Yeah, but they're fixable,
yes,
and there's history there.
yes, there's a trail somewhere.
Yes, there is.
So we just need to find out where it is and find out how much we really do have
Yeah.
the ability to get our hands on, and to make sure that moving forward, the money that is collected on permit fees goes to where it's supposed to.
Yeah. I got a couple.
So we're aware of all that. It's just that it's brand new. We
Yeah.
were kind of blindsided by it
I
a
got
little bit.
I got a couple ideas, but in any case, I won't
wanna
share
guess.
that, I won't share that right now. The other thing that I just want to mention is, with all good intentions, you've got to, I think, be aware that when people on the committee here are gonna go out and do some things and ask some questions and provide information and whatever, it's gonna be with the consensus of the committee, or at least through the chair. And I think that if we don't do that, we're gonna be, that's just problematic to me.
Mhm.
I agree. I was surprised to see the email from.
And, and again, all good intentions and so forth, but that's problematic.
Agreed.
Maybe I'll put
It
that,
should have been an agenda item to be discussed tonight.
Yeah.
To contact
Oh,
Sue
yeah.
about this. Yeah. So that's where we stand, and
Okay.
basically, we just need to, guarantee to the select board that the RDA will donate the property to conservation.
we'll offer.
We'll offer to donate it, because that's what the select board's gonna do if they get it back.
Exactly.
So, it makes more sense for us to do it because the deed's in our name.
Deeds in our name, and they don't
It's
have to go
free.
through, yeah.
It's free for us to donate
Yeah.
for the RDA. They don't have to go through all the
Good.
title
Good.
changes.
The machinations.
Yes.
And I don't know what email we're talking about, so I'm out of the
No,
loop.
no one else was, I was copied
He
on
was
it.
only
I was
copied on
copied
it.
on it.
We just
Oh,
talked about.
what we're talking,
So,
okay.
so we're talking about,
Right, okay, just making sure I tie the right thing,
No,
so,
it was
because
it
it's,
was an email that Joanna wrote to Sue Moquin, the finance director, asking about the Conservation Trust Fund. And she copied me on it. I'm assuming because I'm chair of conservation, not because I'm a member of the RDA. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know, I haven't spoken to her.
And I wasn't copied on it.
I think so.
Right.
But again, this is something that it should be the five of us, including Joanne, that talk about it before
Yeah.
any kind of a email like that is sent out.
That I was pretty
Yeah.
So
And I agree with
And
that.
I'll put that on as an agenda item for, to go, just to walk through procedure.
Yeah,
As things kind of get a little complicated here,
right.
They can.
you know?
It may
When I
take
got
up
on
just a
this
little
board,
bit
our
longer, but
meetings
it's gonna be
lasted
done right.
20 minutes. And I see Brian here, who's in a butter. Do you have anything you wanted to offer?
No, not tonight, I'm just here to observe, so hopefully we can move this one step closer to the final, decision. It'll be nice.
All right, so, go ahead.
some of the meetings that we had back in like August, I believe, or June or August, are some of the ones we still haven't had a chance to go through to accept into the record, right? Because we didn't,
The minutes?
the minutes,
No,
which are
I'm-
part of the conversations, I think, from even the last time he was here.
All
when
our
we talked
minutes
about
are up to date except for the two on here.
the two on here that we didn't, oh, okay, so.
That we haven't voted on yet.
Okay, but those are the ones I was going to refer back to as, I remember when reading them, those are the times you were talking about maybe how it was gonna be accepted, if they were gonna need, if I think it's the conservation, or whether there was, what was it, the, not the planning board, the other one. But
Select board.
Select board needed to know if it was even gonna be an issue, if it was gonna be important enough or not.
This is when we discovered that the deed for
Right.
Wayne Street was still sitting in the RDA's name. And then we did, with Joanna's help, kind of a deep dive into 12 years of minutes.
Right.
And those are all on record, they're just in different, they're not all on the website because our algorithm stops at 2013 or so. Anyway, and this predated that. So what those older minutes are all in ours in June and are reflecting is that we found another problem with chain of ownership, which was the same thing that happened with Forest Street.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that the select board didn't seem to need to move on this. They didn't need the residents to say again, we care about this issue, it's important to us, for them to move on this issue. And I believe we went past that. I didn't know if that was even a consideration for the select board, that they feel, okay, it's a good enough issue to,
The only concern the select board had was that if they reversed their decision from 10 years ago and the property stayed in the ownership of the RDA, that the RDA would offer to donate to conservation and not turn around and sell it to somebody else.
all right, great. I just wanna make sure that
And all we have to do is assure them, through our vote tonight to offer it to conservation, and then conservation's vote's gonna be the same whether it comes from the select board or from the RDA.
Right.
Really, by the vote tonight saying that the RDA its only plan is to donate it to conservation, that will appease the select board.
Good.
And we'll have them, say, okay, then we'll just reverse our decision. Or in fact, I think that Kathleen said they don't even have to do anything.
They don't even have to do anything. They don't
Because
have
it's
to-
been so long that.
And I
nothing
raised that
happened.
as an issue because if somebody went back through the records and they discovered this paper trail, I wanted to know whether, from council, whether we needed a formal vote to rescind or if it was simply failure to act.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we were on solid grounds wherever we went forward.
And that's fine. I just want to make sure that I brought up that issue again because I know in that argument a couple months ago, I want to make sure that the residents were secure, the fact that they wouldn't have to, whether people have left or come. I remember I raised the
Right.
issue. Would we have to have them write another letter or whatever if they're concerned? I just want to appease him and the residents in that neighborhood that
Right, well, Brian.
it's all going to move forward, all going to be
Brian-
good, and they don't have to do anything more. They're taken care of.
Brian and another resident were at the select board meeting
Oh,
when
awesome.
we spoke. And they talked about it, they got up and.
Oh, great, I didn't know.
Citizens, yeah, so, I mean, they were there, they saw what happened, and what I saying is what happened, right?
Yeah,
They're-
yeah.
That's all, their only concern is making sure that it gets donated. whether it's
There
us or
there
not.
wasn't any question about actually doing a public hearing, a posted public hearing?
No, because
Okay.
it still has to go before a town meeting, I believe. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. None if we just
No, it doesn't.
donate to you.
It's donate.
We offer to donate and,
If I may, it seemed to me that the select board thought that this was the easiest course of action, and it also protected the whole thing from being reversed in some way, shape, or form
well, that's true.
by whatever. So it made sense to me that night that what they were doing was they were creating a conduit to make this a much easier transaction
Mhm.
than it would have
Yes.
been
Beautiful.
if it lingered in their hands.
Yeah.
Right, they just wanted the assurance that it was gonna go to
Beautiful.
conservation.
Excellent.
So the meeting is November 16th, right?
Yes.
So is there a motion, can I have a motion authorizing a representative of the Redevelopment Authority to appear before the Conservation Commission to discuss offering Wade Street, the Wade Street parcel under the care and auspices of the Conservation Commission?
I'd second that.
No, somebody say so moved.
So moved, sorry. So moved.
Okay, second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there an abstention?
Yes, there is. I'm gonna abstain as chairman of conservation. I'm gonna abstain on this vote.
Thank you. So I don't want 3 people to go. I mean, I will be happy to go. I'll ask Joanna if she'd like to go, but.
I'll be there,
You'll be there, but you'll be on the other side of the desk.
but I'm still there.
But you can't have
Oh,
three.
never mind, so it's
Yeah.
just gonna be me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Savory. So I'll go on, I'll email the conservation agent tomorrow morning and ask for an agenda item. Anything else on that?
No?
Good, thank you.
Thanks, I'll see you on the 16th.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7 o'clock.
All right, thanks.
Treasurer's report, you emailed it all out.
I sent one out, yes, I did, I gotta remember where I put it. Probably. There it is.
One's from 10/24.
That was last month. Let me see. I just did it, and I wanted to, I thought I put it in, give me a second. Oh, no. You're looking at it, helps to look into the right folder. There it is, it's in my sent folder, where else would it be? Right, so the treasurer's report as of the end of September 31st. In the checking account, we had $27.85.99. In the RDA money market account, it was $27,121.13. In the Hillwood account, we had $11,002.84. And in the URP account, we had $32.55.36. Now, there were also 2 outstanding checks that hadn't been cashed yet for $1,875, and those are our regular course of business monthly checks. And we had 1 deposit for 94th Street of $126,707.29 that came in obviously after
That came in
October
there.
1st.
Right.
Okay. And then again, we just ended the month, so I'll get another one out, which will include all those things.
And the Route 44, you said was 32?
55, 36.
The URP was,
4,000.
no, it was 32.55.36.
Okay, and so that doesn't include any recent, like in the
don't have any.
last 10 days?
No, we don't have anything.
Okay.
No, last thing was,
It's a live check, right?
there was a check that we wrote for $799.50,
Okay,
and that was back in August.
okay, I just
No-
want to be
no
sure when I
other
let,
No other activity since then.
George know tomorrow that we voted to sign the deed. I will sign the deed, but it's pending receipt of funds,
Yep.
for the consideration, and the recording fee, which I believe is $175, and then the state stamps, which I forget how much was $4.58 per thousand. $4 and something,
For 1,000 of sale price,
yeah.
so 5 times 175, right? So,
The 5 times 33,700, whatever it is.
oh,
It's the sale, the consideration of the sale prices, so it's not much.
no, it's not.
George was not worried about that.
Okay.
And then I'll sign that in front of Elaine upstairs. She'll notarize it for me, and then we'll hold it until, for which I will need to get a check from you at that point.
Yep.
You record it, and then I'll run it over. I have topics not anticipated by the chair, 48 hours in advance. I don't have anything.
Nothing.
Under members' notes, Roger, you said you had something?
Yeah,
Okay.
today I ran across a surveyor over in, where's it, Lakeville.
Mhm.
Want to offer him as one of the consideration we can use for further issues. It's Allen and Major Associates.
Okay.
I met Mr. Phil Cordero. And there's something I just want to bring their card and what they do to the department, to the meeting, just in case we can use them for a later time for anything. If
Now,
there's
when we
any
put out-
considerations.
When we went for our survey, we had to put that out to bid as a
We did, when we
RFP.
were doing it originally, the issue was that people were busy, that we couldn't find enough people to bid on it
Mhm.
because they didn't have the time.
Mhm.
So having another,
Having another,
And he said he's a phone call away. So when I told, he said, well, by the way, who are you? So I just
that's great.
said, hey, you know,
No,
I'm
thank
you.
a member of,
This should get in front of Tom Bott.
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, Tom was just, he did contact the.
Yes, he did,
Survey.
but before Tom was here, back in the Jim Walsh days, we had
Okay.
another survey, it was probably Forestry.
yeah,
And
Well-
we couldn't find enough people to do it.
right. And then we put out, he sent out, was it a formal RFP or was it for the
Would just be an-
15,000 that we have?
It would just be an invitation to bid.
Yeah, it was an
Yeah.
invitation to bid on the.
Okay.
No.
You just have, you just have to contact.
You just have to let them
Right,
out.
yes.
They don't
Okay.
have, they don't have to even call in.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe we'll
Technical,
look
right.
at that, because
But, no, that's good to have, and that's
Always
good
good,
to,
yeah, always good to have another one.
Right.
15,000 seems to be tough. I have nothing on notes? No. I sent you 2 sets of minutes. Have you had a chance to review them?
I did, do we wanna wait for Joanna?
Because she's a big portion of those.
We can do it.
You can do it.
Okay.
We got a quorum.
Yeah, we
We
do,
do.
all right. So I will,
We'll have to just roll them
We
over.
can do that.
all right, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of 8:23 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay.
All right. I would make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 20th, 2022 RDA meeting.
Second.
I'm trying to remember if I was there.
I think you were, I'm not sure if I was.
I think you
I
were. Let me look, hold on.
can't. I didn't copy. I'm going this one. Maybe I only missed it when I hit
When
forward.
did you send them out?
Yeah. It was like,
Are,
In a timely fashion.
minutes for review, here we go.
Oh, I was there.
September 20th. You were there.
I just remember what it was.
No one was there.
No?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those are both accepted. While we were waiting for Pat, we discussed a meeting, date of somebody help me, 29th. Are you going away for Thanksgiving or anything, Pat? It's the week after.
We're November 29th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 4 weeks from tonight.
So we'll set our next meeting date for 11/29. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we're done.
Thank you.